जी, जी, जी। मैं रवि नायर साहब के पास फिर आ जा रहा हूँ, अब उनका कनेक्शन शायद ठीक हो गया। रवि नायर साहब अनम्यूट करके जो मेरी बात थी रफाल वाली वो जरा बता दें। रवि नायर साहब।
Yeah, your first question was on Rafale, the book, and how it was related to that offset contract was given to Anil Ambani, and how it is related to this current issue is related to. How can I compare? If I put it in very simple words, it's the same thing. Like as we call it, cronyism. Like once a person reaches the highest position in power, a set of his cronies, friends, that and in that process he decides that all the benefits of the economy should go to them. So that's how this disparity, the income disparity, increases. If you read the last Oxfam report, it says that a few Indian billionaires own 60% of the total wealth in India. So you can easily understand how it is, right? Let's come back to Adani. In the case of Adani, here all the panelists earlier said that how the airport was given, or the airports were given to Adani. How the let me tell you, I was the first person who exposed that story, even just before the airports were going to Adani. I wrote a couple of pieces on that. Then the current issue that the Hindenburg's report, in that especially they have mentioned the FPI. I published 2 reports in July, and when Mahua Moitra, the Trinamool MP, when she wrote to the SEBI chairman, and when she raised the issue in the parliament, she actually took the printout of the articles which I have written and given us as annexures there. We are discussing a lot of things, but there are few things what we did not touch upon. The first thing is, what are the regulatory mechanism of the share market we are looking at? What SEBI is doing? None of us are discussing it. I mean, nobody, even in the newspapers or the mainstream media, everybody is saying that there's a bloodbath in Dalal Street, Adani Scripps fell, they lost 20%. That's fine. So the first question is, when these share prices were going very high, why SEBI did not look at it? There are different aspects to it. Like, when will a share price go up? A share price will go up when companies' performances are so good, right? In the case of Adani's businesses are capital intensive. He has to invest a lot of money, and it takes a long time for the return. So if you look at the dividends Adani's companies are giving, it's very minimal. And it's the first time that Adani Green Energy Limited, said to be one of the largest in renewable energy, it's the first time it made a profit in the last quarter. So before that, I mean, that means there is no dividend. So why should someone invest, and why prices are going up? Then we come to the real issue. As per the regulations, promoter cannot hold more than 75% of the shares of a company if it is listed, right? And the rest should be with the public. In public, there are different banks comes in as public, mutual funds invests, and a lot of brokers and traders invest. Then comes the FPIs invest, the foreign portfolio investors invest. Then comes the retail investors like us, people like us who invest in shares or who can invest in shares. So if you look at the retail, the percentage of retail investors in Adani stocks, it's very minimal. It's very minimal. For example, if you look at the Adani Enterprises Limited, the flagship company of the Adani Group, it's in actual, it is less than 5%. That's a free float that is there in the market. So then what happens is the FPIs and all, they don't trade every day. Even people who, I mean, the banks, mutual funds, those shares are not traded every day. So what is actually getting traded every day is a very small percentage of shares which is there in the retail market. That creates an artificial price hike. It's actually a kind of rigging. So SEBI knows it. But SEBI did not act on it. Why? In all the 7 listed Adani Group companies, one was listed fairly recently. So that is Adani Wilmar. Let us not comment on that. In all the other 6 companies, the free float it's very little. There are free float is as less as 1.9% in one company, which is Adani Transmission. So what SEBI is doing? That is one question. Now I'll tell you another interesting thing. When the issue was raised in the parliament by opposition MPs, that when we wrote about this FPIs, the foreign portfolio investors based in Mauritius, we found out the evidence. I found out the evidence that all these companies are linked to one obscure entity in British Virgin Islands through a chain. And this is linked to Jatin Mehta also. If I can share my articles with you. This is exactly what Hindenburg published in the report. They say, okay. Now, these out of these companies, out of these 7 FPIs, the foreign portfolio investors, many of them have share the same address. They have the same phone number. They have the same people as their company secretaries. Same address, same building, same street, everything same. How is it possible? And as per regulations, it's a normal practice when foreign portfolio investors invest in stocks. They keep a watch, and if they feel that this is not giving much benefit, they just sell it off and move on. And no portfolio manager who's handling these funds, no fund manager or not a single portfolio manager that I know, or at least in the market now, they will not concentrate their investment only in one business group, because that is very risky. It can happen anytime, like what happened in the last 2 days with Adani. So it's a normal practice. No fund manager ever concentrate only on one portfolio, one group company, one group and its companies. This 6 to 7 foreign portfolio investors, like I can name them also, like Albula, Elara, India Capital, then APMS, Cresta Fund, LTS Investment Fund, quite few of them, New Liana based in Cyprus. So all these companies, their investments in that, more than 95% of these FPI's investment are concentrated only in Adani Group. So when this was highlighted, SEBI said that they are investigating it. The Minister of State for Finance told opposition MP Mahua Moitra on the floor of the parliament that government is investigating and SEBI is investigating. It happened almost 1.5 years ago. What happened to that investigation? Nobody asked after that. Few journalists who tracking these things, we kept writing, we kept asking, but nobody responded. And we knew this was going to happen. The people who watched the market, they knew that this crash is about to happen. Now, other thing, in last October, it's very interesting. In last October, Mr. Gautam Adani had a meeting with the SEBI chairperson, Madhabi Puri Buch. And he met officials also. As per the information what I have, that Mr. Gautam Adani visited SEBI headquarters in Mumbai twice within 4 weeks in last September and October. It's very rare. I have never heard that the business captains, the chairpersons of a large business group, whose 7 companies are listed in the bourses in BSE, is going to meet the chairperson of the regulatory body. It's very strange. What they discussed, we don't know. Mrs. Madhavi told, or Mr. Adani also said that it was a casual meeting. We don't know what they discussed. Now this raises another question. when SEBI was investigating the FPIs and issues related to Adani's listed companies, how can SEBI officials and the chairman entertain Mr. Gautam Adani when he goes there? So, don't you think that this is actually very contradictory, and it's actually a conflict of interest? So how can you how can you expect a normal outcome, or a real sincere investigation out of this, and a real outcome out of this? Now, recently, some SEBI sources told me that some source from SEBI told me that this investigation into the Adani things reached a dead end long ago, because this FPIs are registered in different countries and tax havens like Mauritius, Cyprus, Singapore. So those countries were not responding to SEBI, because SEBI is a regulatory body. So of course they can refuse, and they refused. But nobody knows why SEBI did not approach the Ministry of Finance and raise this issue. The Ministry of Finance, through its investigative agencies like DRI or IT, should have easily solved this issue if they were serious on this investigation. It was not done. Why? So it was actually a collective thing that, all this was about to happen. The Hindenburg report just triggered it. At the end of the day, who are the losers? Luckily, the mutual funds and public sector banks entities are not trading much on Adani shares. They have, of course, much exposure on the debt side of these companies. Otherwise, they are not trading much on these shares. So that part, it's lucky that they're fine. It will not impact much. On the other side, as I said earlier, the retailers, the small-time investors, the small-time players, they lost heavily. They lost. It always happens in the share market like that. This time also, they lost heavily. And this is going to go on for some more time. This is going to go on. A correction was needed, and still, up to what extent this will go, we cannot predict. I won't predict it. I can't predict it. But
yes. मैं रवि नायर साहब, आपके पास आप कुछ कहना चाह रहे थे, लेकिन मैं एक चीज कह दूं, जो हर्षवर्धन भाई साहब कह रहे थे, वो कह रहे थे मुद्दे भटकाए जाएंगे राम मंदिर, लेकिन अभी जो सबसे इफेक्टिव मुद्दा है उसका नाम नहीं लिया। हिंदू मुस्लिम जैसा तो अपने पास कोई कारगर जैसे है ना 100% काम करेगा अभी तक, कम से कम गारंटी के साथ मोदी जी उसको कहीं ना कहीं हिंदू मुस्लिम कुछ ना कुछ करेंगे ही करेंगे, क्योंकि अडानी जी हिंदू हैं, हिंदू राष्ट्र बनाना है तो अडानी जी के पीछे सब कोई खड़ा होना, कुछ इस तरह का कुछ ना कुछ लेके आएंगे। आप कुछ कहना चाह रहे थे रवि नायर साहब?
In Gujarat, to file a defamation case, it's not 25,000, it's 75,000. And okay. Anil Ambani filed cases. You said, somebody said 100 crore, 50 crore. Anil Ambani filed a case against me for 5,000 crore.
Oh my God.
I did an article on Wire, and we got a defamation suit for 5,000 crore and another one for 1,000 crore. So आप बहुत कम बोल रहे थे।
रवि नायर साहब, आपको अच्छा लगा जब 5,000 करोड़ आया? क्योंकि जनरली हर्षवर्धन साहब आप कुछ कहना चाह रहे हैं? हर्षवर्धन अनम्यूट कर लीजिएगा।
Actually, what happens when you get a court notice and all, you actually get worried. But जब 5,000 करोड़ का आ गया, तो then I understood, मजा आ गया. So
you should be thankful that he valued you more than his own net worth.
Yeah, exactly. That's what we also discussed on that time. So
मुझे भी आज I am also happy कि मेरे शो में कोई ऐसा आदमी आया है. I have someone in my show जिसके ऊपर 5,000 करोड़ का वो लगा है. कम से कम at least I can claim that. मैं किसी ऐसे को जानता हूँ.
You should. And other thing, I heard you're speaking about the cases against Paranjoy. I'm also, there are cases against me also on that. What happened was, I did a I mean, when those articles which I said on FPI is published, immediately after that they've filed a case. But interestingly, they never. Whenever we write something, of course, as journalists, we send questionnaires, right? So अभी तक कोई भी एक क्वेश्चन का जवाब अडानी ग्रुप ने दिया नहीं. जब भी whenever we write something, of course we send the questionnaires, because if they are ready to give answers, as journalists we would like to show their side also, right? But they never answer to any questions. Before that, I did a couple of series on. There was a port issue. Do you remember that Mr. Modi pushed Adani's name to Sri Lanka, that where
Yes,
he has
yes.
to get a. So before that news broke in India, we had we knew everything, and I interviewed the then Sri Lankan Port Authority chairman, and we published. So this 2-3 articles, the 2-3 series when came together, they filed the case immediately after that. And interestingly, they did not file, the Adani group did not file the case against, defamation case against me on these articles. Based on these articles, I mean, I'm active on Twitter. I tweeted. So they filed the case that my tweets are defamatory. Not these articles. They didn't question the veracity of these articles, which I quoted on the tweet. And the most interesting part in this is that I quoted Sydney Morning Herald. I quoted from the Guardian. I quoted from the Herald, Sri Lanka, Colombo Herald. The published article, quoted as it is, just quote unquote, and I tweeted it. So they didn't question the articles, including my articles. They never questioned the veracity of the articles, but these tweets are defamatory. So this happened with lot many people, not only for tweets, for social media posts, YouTube videos. So that's why most journalists in India, they get scared. They got scared, and they don't write anything about what Adani actually does. That is why it is not coming in mainstream media. They sent a legal notice to even the editor of CNBC TV 18. They sent a legal notice. They filed a defamation suit against her. They filed defamation suit against the chief editor of Economic Times and a couple of journalists.
और नहीं, और नायर साहब, मैं ये भी बताऊं, जैसे आप फ्रीलांस के अलावा जो लोग नौकरी कर रहे होते हैं, उनके लिए और मुश्किल इसलिए हो जाता है कि वो डिफेमेशन सूट उनके पास आएगा और उनके पेपर के पास आएगा. तो एनी एडिटर और एनी ओनर ऑफ दैट, वो कहता है भाई ये सब झंझट हम करने के, इसको बंद करो, ये लेट हिम गिव हिम अ 3 months नोटिस, उसको सैलरी दे के उसको कहो घर जाए. ये सब वी कांट हैंडल इट. रवि नायर साहब, एक चीज जरा हम आपसे और समझ लें. मैं अपनी, जस्ट टू अंडरस्टैंड, ये जो रेगुलेटरी बॉडीज हैं, अगर ये अपना काम न करें तो इज देयर एनी रेमेडी? मतलब कोई कोर्ट जा सकता है, कचहरी जा सकता है. अगर सेबी को ये काम करना था और वो नहीं कर रहा है, अगर ये स्टेप्स लेने थे वो नहीं ले रहे हैं, तो क्या इसकी कोई रेमेडियल, मतलब इसमें कहीं, वेयर इज द रेमेडी?
You can approach the court. I mean, a group of people can approach the retail investors, and who are lost the money, they can make a group. So that number will be in lakhs of people. So they can approach a court of law. The court can only order, but how the court can order to SEBI and the government. So how they are going to act on those orders, that we don't know.
That is, yes.
Anandji, one more thing. One more thing. I have sent you those 2 articles where all this 10 entities are mentioned. You can check where we communicated earlier.
मैं अपने दर्शकों को बता दूं, जो 2 आर्टिकल हैं रवि नायर साहब के, उसका लिंक मैं अभी इसके साथ शेयर कर दूंगा जब ये खत्म हो जाता है. तो अगर किसी को उसको पढ़ना हो तो वो उसमें से भी जाके उसको ठीक से पढ़ सकते हैं. डिस्क्रिप्शन में वो लिंक रहेगा. तो if someone wants to, there are 2 articles by Mr. Nair which he has sent it to us. We will share that link of that article in the description box. If someone wants to understand it more deeply, one can go and look at it. मेरा एक और, क्योंकि रवि नायर साहब है, रवि नायर साहब, आतमजीत सिंह साहब, आप दोनों लोगों से एक बहुत छोटे-छोटे प्रश्न है. मुझे ये बताइए, बहुत से लोग ये कह रहे हैं कि ये आपका रिस्क है, You have invested. मैंने मान लीजिए इन्वेस्ट नहीं किया, मैंने तो LIC खरीदी कि अगर मैं मर जाऊं मेरे बच्चे को कुछ मिल जाए, मैंने तो FD लगाई उस बैंक में कि अगर भाई ये बैंक ठीक से चले, क्योंकि उस FD से मैं अपना कुछ खर्चा चला लूं। तो मैंने स्टॉक मार्केट में तो बहुत कम लोग इन्वेस्ट करते हैं, लेकिन आज जब ये मार पड़ रही है इकोनॉमी पे तो असर तो मुझ पे भी आ रहा है। मैं उस रेफरेंस से रवि नायर साहब ये पूछ रहा हूं कि इसको सिर्फ ये कह देना कि नहीं इट इज ओनली इन्वेस्टर्स गेम शायद ठीक नहीं होगा। Our total economy is being affected.
That's correct. See, there will be a ripple effect. It's for reasons like the banks have a lot of exposure. If as per the Adani's own financial statements and balance sheet, as on 31st March 2022, the group had a total gross debt of 2.22 lakh crores. After that, they have taken much more loan. For example, in June or July last year, they have signed a loan agreement with SBI for somewhere around 8,000 crore, 8,500 crore rupees for their new upcoming copper plant in Gujarat. SBI has agreed to underwrite some 12,500 crore for Navi Mumbai airport. So all these are adding up to the books. So if you look total this year by 31st March, their total debt will be approximately 2.5 lakh crores. So out of this total debt, of course, the ratio has been changed of late, but still around 40 to 41% of this total debt is from banks. Total debt it is from banks. Now, the major share, if you look at the exposure of private sector banks, is very less. It's around 12%. The rest is from the public sector banks. So the ripple effect of this will happen. But one thing we can be assured of that when a bank, see, it's not necessary that the company, or it is unprecedented that when a company fails, the government will intervene and support that company or try to rescue that company. It never happens on that way. But government cannot sit idle when it affects a bank. So whenever, for example, what happened with Yes Bank, Gotala hua, right? But the government intervened, right? It saved. So just like that, so it's not going to affect your investments in the bank or FD or something directly. At the same time, if government support the bank and invest the money, it's again our money. It's public money. The money the government the money which the government should have spent on any welfare scheme or for any other public welfare project will be diverted and help a bank. And in the case of LIC, again, just like any government companies, if government cannot afford LIC to crash, and I mean, let us be very factual. Like just because of Adani, though the total, as per the valuation on 24th, around 76,000 crore ka exposure tha, but LIC is too big. LIC is too big for 76,000 crores. So that's okay. I mean, that's actually the notional value. We don't know at what share price LIC bought these shares. We don't know.